And I would have applied if it wasn't for my dad. My dad was like, if you don't keep quiet there. Hi guys, my name is Zainab Agbaje. If you're new to my channel, my name is Zainab. I'm a second year med student currently documenting my journey through medical school. I'm also a fitness enthusiast, so I share some of my fitness journey with you guys. So if you're into that, please consider subscribing, and that would help my channel a lot. And if you're a new channel subscriber, welcome back. Today's video is not the boast. I accept that today's video doesn't appeal to all of my audience, but I've been asked about this a lot, and I guess it's because I'm an international student in the United States. So what that means, basically, I'm in the United States with an F1 visa, and having an F1 visa and being an international student in the United States, it doesn't just basically means it's a bit harder to get into medical schools in the United States. I guess that's why a lot of people ask me about this. So I kind of wanted to share my application with you guys. I'm going to talk about medical school requirements, and I'll tell you how I was able to meet those requirements. So let's just get right into the video. Right, I made a script. Okay, I'm a very organized queen. Anyways, I made a script. So if you see me look to my screen or just to the side, I'm looking at my screen. I'm looking at my script basically. First things first, every US medical school require that you have a bachelor's degree from like a accredited college or university. It doesn't have to be a 4-year college or anything like that. Just make sure you have like a bachelor's basically. You could also have master's, or you could even have your PhD, but minimum you have to have a bachelor's degree. So I got my bachelor's degree from Sam Houston State University. I graduated, I majored in biomedical science and I minored in chemistry. So I got my degree back in 2019. With regards to classes requirements, that is specific to different schools, but in general, according to the AMC website, you need to have 1 year of biology with labs, 1 year of English classes, and also 2 years of chemistry labs, including organic chemistry. So I took all of that. I also took biochemistry. I took a bunch of classes, and I'm going to leave screenshots here. I took physics as well. I took organic chemistry, like I said, obviously that's required. I took 2 classes of biochemistry. I took neurology. I took microbiology. I just took a lot of classes, and because I hopped from one school to another, I've literally gone to 4 schools in this United States. I ended up graduating with 168 credits or something like that. I don't know, man, something that outrageous. Which, if you don't know, in the United States, basically most schools require just 120 credits before you graduate. I had 168. I don't know, I just kept hopping from one school to another, girl. Long story. There's also a general average GPA requirement, and I think according to the website that I researched, the average GPA requirement is around 3.74, but that could vary. A lot of schools accept a 3.3, 3.5, some require higher than that. I graduated with a 3.9 GPAs. Also, they require a lot of clinical experience, shadowing experience and stuff like that. So with my own shadowing experience, I shadowed a pediatrician. I actually thought I wanted to be a pediatrician in the past, but not anymore. But I had an amazing experience with the doctor that I shadowed. She was so nice. She was really she was just rooting for me. She actually wrote a letter of recommendation for me, which we'll get into all of that later on. But I shadowed a pediatrician. I did that for a month during the summer. I did that after my first year of undergrad. So I had that shadowing experience, and because it was for a month, I had a lot of hours. I went every day for 8 hours. So yeah. I also have other clinical experiences. With my first application cycle, actually the only clinical experience that I technically had was my shadowing. But with my second application cycle, I was already working as a scribe, and I've also been promoted to chief scribe. So I had a lot of clinical experience with scribing for doctors. I scribed for multiple doctors. I scribed for orthopedic surgeons. I scribed for neurosurgeons. I scribed for sports medicine, doctors. I scribed for a lot of people, a lot of different types of doctors, so I was able to like get more clinical experience seeing patients that way. So there's a lot of community service requirements, and for me, I just volunteered. I love volunteering. I love just helping and just rendering my service for free. So I did that. I did a lot of like soup kitchen volunteers. I did a lot of like mobile kitchen volunteers, and I did a lot of like yeah, just basically those things. One thing I wanted to mention is that your volunteer experience doesn't have to be like a medical related one or like a clinical related one. A lot of mine weren't. Like, it was more like just helping feed people, and I'm really passionate about that. So even currently in medical school, I volunteer with like a food bank, which basically provides food for, you know, the less privileged and stuff like that. So I really am passionate about helping to feed people, so I just do that. I don't have to find volunteer activities like in the hospital and stuff like that. I just try to find things that I'm passionate about and things that I won't feel like, oh, I just need to do this to add it to my application. So that's what I did with like community service. I also did a lot of research. Like, if you guys don't know, I love research. I almost applied for like a MD or DO PhD program. I really wanted to do like just something like, you know, DO PhD or MD PhD. However, it's a lot of school, it's a lot of commitment, and right now I have almost like almost 3 years left, and I'm still I want to be done. So I can't imagine having like 10 years or 7 years and stuff like that. It's a long time, and I would have applied if it wasn't for my dad. My dad was like, if you don't keep quiet there. Some schools require like research skills, a lot don't. Like, that's why they require labs anyway, but some schools require it, and I did research. Basically, I was like an undergraduate research assistant in 2 different schools. Actually, I went to St. John's and I researched for like 6 months. I was a research assistant for like 6 months, I think, and I also went to some Houston State University, and I was a research assistant again for like 6 months. So both I added to my application, and it was an amazing experience for me, so I love that. A lot of medical schools also require and they look for like leadership skills, and basically for me, I was like a teacher's assistant for my biochemistry professor. So I was a TA for a biochem class, 2 inorganic chemistry classes. So being a TA was one of the ways that I kind of explained how I have leadership skills. I also was a chief medical scribe. So when I was working as a medical scribe, the company that I was working with had like hierarchies basically, and I basically ended up being a chief medical scribe, which means like I have like scribes under me where I teach them how to scribe for different physicians. I teach them how to use all of the things that we're using to scribe essentially. At some point I was even making their shifts, making sure that all of the notes are done. Even sometimes I scribe with that. So being a chief medical scribe and a TA was how I try to explain to medical schools that I have leadership skills. Also my MCAT, I don't know why it took me this long to talk about that. The average, according to the research that I did, the average requirement for MCAT scores in the United States currently is around 511.9, which basically I guess just means 512. Girl, I got a 503. I feel like I've mentioned this several times. 503. I wasn't about to take that exam again. I was not about to take that exam again. I was not about to take that exam again. I just left it at that. I was like, there's going to be a school that will accept me with this. I'm not doing this exam again. And honestly, I must say, like, I know of a couple of people that have gotten into medical school even with less scores and than 503. So it's possible to get into medical school with that, okay? Oh, this is average of 511. I don't know. I mean, yes, obviously if you're able to aim for high scores, but I got a 503 and I'm still here, second year. Extracurricular activities, like I mentioned earlier, one of those things, they want to make sure that you're like a holistic student. So I joined like a African Student Society, which I'm not into orgs, I'm not into organizations, I'm not into all of those things like that. Even right now, I'm not really into it, but I have to. Well, no, I have to. I actually don't need to do anything I don't want to, but I'm not into organizations, period. However, I did join because I wanted to, first of all, I actually wanted to find community, and I also wanted to add it to my application because I wasn't sure if, you know, these things were required. But I joined the African Student Society, did not like it. That's just the tea for me. As an actual African that came from Nigeria, did not like it. I was discriminated against. But you know what? We're not talking about that today. I also joined chemistry organization, which is crazy because I've always been like a bio like major. My major has always been like bio something. But I always find love with chemistry for some reason. Anyways, I joined chemistry organization as well, and that was pretty cool. We talked about research that we're doing and stuff like that, so that was pretty cool. And I added that to my application. There's also like I think a section for like achievements or something. I actually don't remember what it's called. But I listed some of my achievements as like always been on the dean's list. I've always been on the dean's list since the first year of my undergrad. I've always been just basically given that honor of being on the dean's list. I also joined some honor societies, which I didn't necessarily apply for. So the first one that was offered to me was the Golden Key International Students Honor Society, and it was basically offered to like the top 15% students of the school, essentially. I don't know if it's set or something. Basically, I was offered that, so I accepted that. I was also offered another one, like it's called the Alpha Chi, I think it's what it's called. I don't know how to pronounce it. Alpha Chi Honor Society. I still have the pins for them. Really love them. I joined those honor society essentially. I didn't really have to do much. We just had to it was like merit based for both of them. So the first one was like top 15% of the students, and the second one was like top 10%. So I didn't really have to do much. It was just like merit based essentially. I also graduated with like summa cum laude, which is basically based on like your GPA. Did not apply for that as well, just based on your GPA. Moving on to letters of recommendation. So a lot of medical school obviously will require, because it's like a requirement, there's a section for that. A lot of them actually prefer like a letter from the committee, if that makes sense. Like if your school has a medical school committee, a lot of medical schools will require that you get a letter from them. And my undergrad had that, and for that I had to like actually apply. So I had to go through like an interview process, which kind of like mirrored a medical school interview. They asked me why medicine, they asked me what would happen if I didn't get into medical school, they asked me some clinical scenarios, what would I do and stuff like that. So basically the way my school works is like they rank you. It's like there's like a letter grade, A, B, C, D. I don't know if it says E, I don't know. But basically with A, if you get ranked with like, if you get the letter A, it's like the whole school is like, yes, please accept the students, they're perfect. Or if it's like a B, it's like this student is great, they're going to do well. If it's like a C, is like this is an average student, accept them. If like a D, it's like we don't really recommend, but do you boo? And if it's like an E, it's like I don't think you should accept this student. For my school, based on like again the interview process and my grades and all of this like that, I got like a letter A. So I don't know what is actually in my letter of recommendation, but I know the gist is like the whole school is like accept the students, they're great type of vibe. So that was like my letter of recommendation. That's how everything went. And included in my letter, in the community letter, would be like specific letters from specific professors. So I had favorite professors that I asked. Like my biochem, I TA'd for my biochem professor, and he definitely gave me a letter as well because we were kind of close. I also asked the pediatrician that I shadowed to give me a letter, so that also worked as well. I also asked the professors that I did research with to actually write me a letter as well, so that also helped. So having those specific relationships helped me, you know, with my letter of recommendation. Also I had to write like a CASPA test. I don't even want to get into that, but I wrote that. I actually don't know what my grade is. That shit was just disgusting. I wrote it. Actually I wrote CASPA test. It was expensive. It wasn't expensive, but anyways, I wrote that. And with all of that, I obviously had to apply. So I did my primary applications. I did the MD application, which is the AMCAS. I also did the DO application, which is the AACOMAS. And I also did like the TMD-SAS application, which is specific for medical schools in Texas. So I did all of that. It was expensive, and if you want to see a video of me breaking down the cost of applying to medical school twice, I'm gonna leave it up here somewhere and so you guys can see how much it cost me to actually apply to medical school. So I did all of those primary applications, and it was expensive. And next I did secondary applications, which is specific to most schools. I did some schools sent me like, oh yeah, we want you to continue with your application, so continue with the application essentially. I also paid for that, very expensive. Then I did interviews for the schools that asked me for an interview, and finally I got admitted. And I paid for admission fees. For my school, it was just $500. Everything has led up to this point where I am in medical school now, and yeah, that is like basically my statistics. But yeah, that is everything I have for you guys in this video. I'm sorry if it's so long, and I'm sorry if this doesn't really resonate with you. I just really wanted to put it out there. Like I mentioned, a couple of people, I think 5 people in total have asked me about this, so I just wanted to make that video. And I just wanted to put out a quick, you know, thing out there. Like if you're in pre-med right now, or if you're just, you know, looking to get into medical school, if an international student from Nigeria can do it, girl, you can do it too. And if you are an international student as well looking into getting into medical school in America, it's very possible. You don't have to have like the highest like MCAT score. Girl, I got a 503. You don't have to have the highest MCAT score, you don't have to have the highest grade. You just have to make sure like you're passionate about it and let your passion always shine forth, essentially. And yeah, I just wanted to just put that message out there. It's not impossible. It's not impossible. It's very, very possible. It's just harder, kind of, and you just have to prove yourself, kind of. Anyways, I love you guys so much, and thank you so much for 197 subscribers. Road to 200k. 200k. I meant 200. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.